When you walk up the base of the water tower that faces east, there's this wonderful stone wall around it to hold back that rise. Okay, this is a plaque that was put in place when the water tower was rehabilitated and fixed back in the 1970s. The water tower is also a landmark of water engineering by the American Association of Water, AAWA. That's it, exactly, right, that's the one, yep. Those guys. In fact, they just contacted me. They're looking for shots for a calendar. And so I gave them some of mine. I thought that's kind of cool. Anyway, so you walk around from the back, you come up the driveway, and then there's this little path here and the stone wall. And right now you're behind the east wall, the east part of the quadrangle. And you go all the way around to the ends, past the end of the stone wall, and you come to these really overgrown brick steps that you can barely even tell they're there. Desperately need to be replaced or rebuilt completely because they're just not functional. I suspect there was a nice flower bed there at one point in time, but it's gone. And then you look up to the knoll and you see this really great arched doorway. And you can see how thick the walls are there. They're almost a full 6 feet thick at the base, because this is what we call a true masonry structure. The weight of the water tank, which is over 1 million pounds when it's full, is supported entirely by the masonry post in the center and by the masonry on the outside wall. That's how it works. I asked the engineer, we were trying to figure out ways we could get people up into the tower, and being newly familiar with architects' terms and concerns about whether is this enough going to be able to bear the weight and everything, he said, I think we're fine with 1 million pounds of water. I don't think we're going to have to worry about getting everybody in the world up there. Okay, so these are the steps you go up. You walk this little rise, and then you come up to the door. It has this really darling little screen door that goes with it, so it matches, the inner door and the outer door match. And it's this very arched, pointed opening, Gothic topped opening. This is with the door partly closed so you can see the outer door and the little grate that's above it to let air in. Because in the summer it gets pretty stuffy in there. It's a giant masonry structure that's in full sun, so it collects a lot of heat. The first thing you see when you go in through the door, that's the door there to the right, is this is the depth gauge. It's a float gauge, which means it was a piece of wood, a little gauge that was attached to a wire that went all the way up, and it floated just like the float in your toilet tank. So when the water level was low, the float would show up here, and the water level was high, it would be way down at the bottom. So you could tell just by opening the door instantly what the water level in the tank was. You didn't have to go up and drop a line or anything like that. It was a super simple mechanical system that gave a good clear report instantly. This is what you see when you go inside. Like I said, the outside is a ring of, it's a giant tube, and then the inside is the post that helps to support the weight. This is load bearing, this is load bearing. They're both load bearing. They're not, there's no steel reinforcing this structure. It's true masonry. And so when people say, oh, you know, that 19th century mortar and masonry just doesn't last. Yeah, right. 110 years, and that's not going to last. This is a cutaway that kind of gives you an idea. The same thing that Beth has over there next to the door, there's a little a drawing that shows the same sort of cutaway. This is the way it looks from the outside, and this is the way it is on the inside. There's this central pillar that supports the tank, and that's about the shape and size of the tank. This staircase is totally conjectural, and we'll get to that later. But this is just to give you an idea of what the cutaway looks like, what's inside the tower. And up here at the top, there's very little space between the outer wall of the tank and the inner wall of the top part of the tower. You can stand with your, with one shoulder against the tank and touch the other wall with your hand. I can. I'm 5'2". So other people can do more than that. You go into, these are the electric meters. Currently nothing works in the tower that's electrical. There's no light unless you carry a flashlight. There are windows, so there's always light in the tower if it's daytime, but there's no light. This is the spiral staircase that you have to climb up. Okay, it's about 3.5, 4 feet. Each step is 3.5 to 4 feet wide, but you can see by the shape of the steps that there's really not a lot of space to walk, and each step is a little bit taller than an average step would be today, say in a home or a building or a commercial building. So it's a bit of, you have to really lift your foot up. Now this is only the first 100 feet. So it's about 100 steps, 120 steps to go up that high. I wouldn't recommend this for anybody that isn't fairly fit. When you, let me see here, I was going to get a view of this again. Okay, this is looking This is going up to the first landing. Oh, that's what that one is. This is the spiral staircase. You come up, here's the spiral staircase, and you get off to this landing, and you're about 80% of the way to the top there. And this is a little catwalk that leads to, I don't know if you can see that round shape there, the soft water tanks, which are hanging above your head as you go up the staircase. They're very well secured, so don't be concerned about that. They're not filled with water anymore, but they are steel. But this is what you see. So when you're looking down, I mean, you're looking right through that catwalk. I think that's why they get rid of fire escapes like we all had when we were kids, where you could see right down and see all the way down to the ground. It is kind of dizzy making. If you have a problem with vertigo, I wouldn't go up here. If you have questions as I go along here, I'd be happy to answer them. This room is so great because the lighting is dim enough for you to see the pictures well, but I can also still see you a little bit. This is the staircase from a slightly different angle, so it kind of gives you an idea of how tight it is. You're going up the stairs 2 people at a time. No, they're not side by side. They're going to be behind each other. But we have had as many as 9 or 10 people on the staircase at once. So despite the fact that it looks a little bit rusty, there's no structural issues. What scares me is the fact that this is your handrail. There's nothing under there except you and 50 feet of dead space. Maybe I shouldn't have used that word, but... Okay, so when you climb the spiral staircase, this is the catwalk that leads to the soft water tank. This is the water for the soft water tanks was collected off the roof and filled that. They would use that for washing things. They wanted soft water, so it's rainwater. The water that was in the main tank was pumped up from underground. Okay? This is what you get to when you get to the top of the spiral staircase. This is called the lookout. It's called Rapunzel's balcony. I mean, people have called it lots of things. I'm sure if you talk to your average 7-year-old, they'll have some sort of cute name for it too. Lots of boys will call it part of their base. But anyway, so this is where you come out. Now, if you remember, though, you see how the tank itself sticks out above this post, this outer wall that holds up the lower part of the tower. And so this is the way that you move out from the primary part of the tower down below so that you are up outside of the tank up above, okay? So that's what that balcony is for. The window means it's very well lit. This is the door this door leads out onto the little balcony. It leads to the right. It goes right up to the first of 3 ladders you will be climbing. And to the left goes out onto the little tiny balcony that's there. And this is what you see from the balcony. You can see out over Kalamazoo. I did not step out on the balcony because that is pigeon poop. And some dead pigeons. So I decided we weren't going to go out there. So my cats would look at me really funny when I got home if I came home smelling like that. But that is the view that you can see just directly from the door. This is the new Health and Human Services building at WMU, and we're looking pretty much due east from that side of the balcony.